Hello everyone. Welcome to Leveraging LinkedIn, how to really use LinkedIn to drive sales, part one. And thank you for joining me today. Of course, today is brought to you by my brand new Boss podcast. And what we're doing today is using this as a promotional channel to help promote the Boss podcast. For those of you who aren't aware, we'll be recording this. So if you need to duck off at some point, we'll send you out a recording to make that easy for you. I expect this to last about 42 minutes. So in the rehearsals that I've done previously, we've run about 42 minutes fairly consistently. So we hope it'll be about the same distance now. So this is part one in a two-part series. And I've deliberately divided this into two pieces because the goal in these two sessions is to give you the tools that you need to be able to reach out and start really valuable, strong conversations with your potential clients and your existing clients. Because my mindset around LinkedIn and social is that LinkedIn is a outbound play. It's an outbound strategy. It's not an inbound play at all. So for that, I noticed we've got a bunch of people online today, some of which are regular people that I deal with. Thank you very much for joining me once again for another webinar. And for those of you who are new, you might be wondering why I'm entitled to be able to talk to you about social selling and indeed engaging your customers and prospects on LinkedIn. So for those of you who are in that case, look, in 2016, I was ranked the #1 social seller on LinkedIn by LinkedIn, and that was scored through engagement, highest levels of engagement. And engagement does not mean likes and comments. It means starting real conversations, getting people to connect with you, and building valuable, lasting relationships online. So LinkedIn were able to manage that through, or measure that through the back of their Sales Navigator platform. In fact, I was second in 2015 when John Dugan, my partner in crime at that time, had won. So we've been able to use those strategies endlessly. Of course, we've needed to change them from time to time as the platforms changed, but the proof is in the pudding, so to speak. And LinkedIn have stopped running the Best of Social Selling Awards. As of 2016, maybe they got sick of John and I winning them, but you'll notice that the Best of Social Selling is the name of the podcast. So I've carried that over. So that's why I'm entitled to speak to you today, or feel that I'm entitled to speak to you today, and we'll be sharing some of those strategies across these next two sessions. So without further ado, let's jump in. So I'm going to start by saying that most of us are being deliberately deceived about what's important on LinkedIn by some key players on the platform. And a lot of us forget, and when I talk to lots and lots of sellers, they're often surprised to realize that they're actually the product on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, of course, is owned by Microsoft. Microsoft paid $27 billion for LinkedIn, and it's reliant on the quality of the people inside the platform. So you and me inside the platform, and that the platform's going to grow so that they can sell advertising revenue and they can sell subscription revenue. So I buy a tool called Sales Navigator, which is the premium LinkedIn sales tool. It costs me about $1,200 a year, and I'm more than happy to pay for it. I think it's a fantastic product and it works really well. But they also generate about $9 billion in advertising. So the reason why I say this is because I think there's often a disconnect between what we're doing on LinkedIn and what LinkedIn or what Microsoft want us to actually be doing. And so we need to be conscious of the fact that what Microsoft are telling us to do by asking us to connect with everybody and asking us to open our address books and driving us to focus on things like likes, connections, comments, and shares is actually not really the best strategy for us to be able to play. The other thing is, we see a lot of people talking about LinkedIn trainers, and I don't consider myself a LinkedIn trainer at all. I consider myself a sales specialist that's very good on social. I'm not a LinkedIn trainer at all. Is that we're not going to be able to build up our profile like Richard Branson or somebody and have a couple of million followers, or even a couple of 100,000 or tens of thousands of followers, and then just generate inbound activity. So have people saying, hey, Mark, love what you're doing. When can you come out and train my salespeople? That actually just doesn't happen. And when people are suggesting to you that if you post a video every day, that's what's going to happen, that's not real social selling. That's actually marketing. So what I'm here to tell you is that the strategies that we need to put in place is actually outbound focused, but you can do so in a really credible way that's going to separate you from those people that use LinkedIn badly and position themselves as spammers. So what I'm going to do today is provide you with some really good foundation for you to be able to make that jump from where you are now to where you need to be. And then next week, we're going to build on that even further to be able to provide you a stronger level of outreach strategies and tools. And they're basically going to be the tools and strategies that I use today and that my clients use. There's going to be a bunch of things today that I'm not going to cover. And that's going to be things like, you know, how do you build a really strong LinkedIn banner? How do you customize your URL? How do you customize your profile for search engine optimization? Those sorts of things. These things are super important and we should certainly be doing those, but I'm not going to cover them here today. I don't think I need to rehash those at this point. I'd rather give you something a little bit bigger to work on and something a bit more powerful. And then, you know, if you want to go and work on those individual bits and pieces, you'll certainly be able to going forward. So this is not a LinkedIn training program. This is what you need to be doing to set yourself up for social selling success so that you can reach out and start conversations with people and they're going to respond. Whew. Okay, so why do I think now is a really good time for us to be focusing on this stuff? Okay, so there's some really great research around from LinkedIn and one of the other tools called Hootsuite, if you're not familiar with them. And they're suggesting that the activity on LinkedIn right now is super high. So there's more people on LinkedIn now. There's more buyers on LinkedIn now during our work from home situation. And there's more sellers than ever before. So that means that if there's more activity, there's more people here, that provides us with opportunities. It also provides us with some challenges. So if there's lots more sellers here, we need to figure out a way to be able to stand out. And this just reinforces my point in that reaching out is key, and just posting things and expecting people to be able to find you, talk to you and engage with you, particularly around buying your services, is probably not going to work. You know what? It's not probably, it's definitely not going to work. And here's a great tool, a great stat that I got earlier this week. And I can't remember who sent it to me. I really wish I could say thank you. And it's from HubSpot, obviously. And what it's indicating is the increase of email traffic hitting people's inboxes since the work from home COVID situation. And you can see by those orange vertical bars that there's actually almost 60% increase in email traffic to many people's inboxes. And if you have a look at the green line, that's the response rate, the amount of people that are responding. So the response rates are down to about 30%, or sorry, down by 30%. So only 70% of the emails that were being responded to are now being responded to with an increase in email traffic. So these channels, this email channel in particular, is super blogged up. So if we're trying to reach out and talk to potential customers and clients now, you've got a higher chance of getting blocked on email, and you've got a higher chance of being able to talk to customers on platforms like LinkedIn, simply because they're more often and the other channels are blocked. And something else I want to share with you, and I've been talking about these for a long time, but it really does reinforce how important social can be and how much it can help you. So the latest research indicates that 62% of B2B buyers research their actual salesperson. So the person that's reaching out to them, their sales rep. So if you're reaching out to somebody and saying, hey, try to get a meeting, or hey, would you have a look at this, or would you be interested in any of those sorts of things? 62% of the time, people are looking at your online profile to help them decide whether they're going to engage with you. So I'm just going to call that 2 out of 3. I know that I'm inflating it a bit, but 2 out of 3 people are going to look at your profile as part of their buying process. So you need to understand, is my profile going to actually help me and be congruent in the signals and the messages that I'm talking about when I talk to my prospects and my clients, or is it harming me? So have a think about your profile now and try and reflect about that. Okay, 94% of people are using social, so B2B buyers, so when I say people, that's who I'm interested in. 94% of B2B buyers are using social as a tool to evaluate what they're going to buy and when they're going to buy it. And this is my favorite, 69% of sales are given to those who engage with them the earliest. So B2B buyers, whoever engages with them earliest, so out of the 3 people who engage with them, salespeople who engage with them the earliest, 69% of those deals are given to one of those first 3. So being an early person, an early innovator and reaching out and saying, hey, Mark, have you thought about this? Did you know about this product? Did you know about this software? You're significantly more likely to get me as a client if you're one of the first people to bring those ideas and those concepts to me. Again, this reinforces that outreach piece. Okay, so just being on social is not good enough anymore, particularly when we know that more and more of our people are going to be here. And if this is what our B2B buying scenario looks like with these numbers, you can guarantee that your competitors are around this space as well. And I think if I think back to 2017, and even when I started doing this in 2016, 2015, I was talking a lot about getting people onto the LinkedIn platform. This was a big part of my conversation. Now I don't feel like I need to say that anymore, because people are actually on the platform. They understand that it's supporting their sales approach. So where do we all start? Okay, so the first thing I'm going to start us at is at a strategy. And I know if you're like me, you probably, every time you hear someone say we need to start with strategy, you feel like going to sleep. I get it, but I'll make this super quick and super easy for you. So when I say strategy, I'm probably talking about 8 minutes worth of thought process here. Okay, we need to get absolutely clear on our goal on social, because a lot of the times we see people mess it up. And what I mean by that is they're trying to look good for their prospects. They're trying to look good for their colleagues. They're trying to look good for a potential recruiter, and they're trying to look good for their mum. So if you're taking that approach with your content and with your profile, you're just going to look significantly weaker. So you need to put a stake in the ground and say, you know what, this is what I'm going to use this social media platform for, and this is how I'm going to make it work. So I would argue that LinkedIn is absolutely a B2B business play. If you're connected with your friends and that sort of thing, you should be moving that onto a different platform, and I'll talk about that shortly. When we think about developing our strategy, these are the key things that I need you to think about. What's the geographical location of my customers? Because not many of us truly sell across the globe. Some of us will only sell in some regions. Some of us will sell in states. Some of us will sell across the country. What industry or industries are your perfect customers in, or your ideal clients in? What about the company headcount? What's their revenue? What sort of titles do they have in their function? And we're starting at the same point that you would get a lot of sales conversations starting in, and that's with our ICP, individual client profile, and their personas. The good news for people on LinkedIn is that the LinkedIn search functionality is broken down exactly the same way. So let me give you an idea of how that would look geographically for Mark. So I sell predominantly into APAC, predominantly into Australia, but APAC a little bit is a tiny bit wider. I'm certainly not going any wider than that. What industries do I sell into? I sell into financial services. I sell into FMCG. I sell into business services, and I sell into what I call tech, which covers computer software, computer hardware, computer networking, SaaS, that sort of stuff. So they're pretty much the industries that I work in. I don't work absolutely everywhere. They're the main ones that I do really well in. Company headcount, typically more than 50. And if people have got about 5,000 or that many people in their business, they generally have somebody inside their business helping them. So I'm in that gap in between. Revenue size, again, 50 million plus is pretty much where it is. And what sort of titles am I looking for? VP of sales, sales directors, sales enablement, that sort of thing. What sort of function? They're all business development or sales functions. And if you go into LinkedIn, you'll find that these exact filters are there for you already. And if you're in Sales Navigator, you'll see they're even much easier to pick out. If you complete this simple task, which will literally take you a few minutes, you are going to be in the top 4% of LinkedIn operators. It's that easy to stand out. Most people don't even have this much of a strategy when it comes to who they're going to reach out and who they're going to talk to. I can see we've got a couple of Q&As coming in. I'm going to grab those intermittently, so I'll come back to that shortly. Okay, so once you've got your strategy sorted out, what I need you to do is start thinking about your profile. And as I said, I'm not going to get super granular here because I think there's lots of information already floating around the internet, and there's stuff that I've done in the past. You can go to YouTube and grab some of those. There's lots and pieces there about how to do this really granular. But on a big picture, this is what you need to be doing. Thinking about your strategy and your ideal clients, you need to build out a profile that is truly compelling. And for those of you who've followed me for a while, you know this is a word I use a lot. So I thought this was a good opportunity for me to show exactly what I mean by compelling. And it's got to be irresistible, powerfully irresistible, inspiring conviction, not able to be refuted, not able to be resisted. And if you build a profile that's truly compelling, what that means is your ideal client that you've built through your ICP looks at your profile and goes, that's somebody I really want to be connected with. And that's when you know that it's compelling. When somebody looks at your profile and goes, ooh, that looks like that's somebody of value, that's somebody I want in my network. That's the compelling test. And so it goes a lot further than, having your background filled in and having a great picture. Those things all add up and create a compelling profile. But this is the key. This is where you need to end up. So what are some of the things that you might need to do? And again, I'm not going to get too granular to create a compelling profile. So I've been sharing Kevin's profile here for about 5 years, 4 or 5 years, and I've got his okay to use this profile. So Kevin's a chef. So when I'm thinking about who does a really good job on LinkedIn, I'm thinking consultants, salespeople, CEOs. I'm not thinking about a chef. So I deliberately use this. I definitely use Kevin's profile because I think if Kevin can kill it, so can you. It doesn't matter what industry, how boring it is, whether you're selling taps, toilet paper, whatever. If Kevin can make his profile look compelling, you can too. And his profile is compelling to people in the food services industry and to other chefs. It's not that compelling to me as a sales trainer, and it's not meant to be. And that's what I really like about it. At a high level, Kevin's using deliberate scientific behavior triggers. So he's using ethical persuasion, influence, by having some of his accreditations highlighted up there. They're the sorts of things that we need to use. He's got a great picture in his work environment, in his work uniform. He's got a great backdrop there that highlights exactly that will attract the sorts of people that he's going to talk to, people interested in the food industry. It's clearly food. I'm constantly surprised by people who work in Sydney and put a backdrop of the New York City skyline. I mean, as soon as I see a New York City skyline, I assume you're working in New York. These are mistakes that people make that are so easily fixed. The LinkedIn research that tells us people spend about 22 seconds only on your profile, and they spend most of their time looking at you straight between the eyes on your profile picture. They look at your background picture to see what else signals they can pick up from that. Then they look at your headline. And of course, your headline, Kevin's got chef, co-owner, so he's leveraging a little bit of authority there by saying he's an owner. But I would advocate that you shouldn't have your title there. You should have what you do, who you help, and how you help them. So for example, if you're a mortgage broker, you might say, I help Sydney couples break into their Sydney property market. That I can look at that profile and see really clearly who that mortgage broker is targeting and what it is that he does for his clients. It's or her clients. It's really easy. And I think we need to try and get our headlines to not be too tricky, but just make it really easy. Most of us don't sell globally. So I would try and put something in there that narrows that down so that you're getting good, valuable interaction from the right people online. So what happens if you get it wrong? Well, I've grabbed this one just the other day, and I don't know. This is a Sydney business development manager. I've tried to grab one that was a little bit anonymous. If anybody knows this person, my apologies. I don't know if it's a male or female. But as you can see in the bottom right-hand side, they've got 2,622 followers. So they've spent some time building up a bit of a profile. And you can see that there's absolutely nothing here at all to support their business activity. And in fact, they're saying that their marketing and sales has been a passion of mine for over 10 years. Well, if marketing and sales has been a passion of yours for 10 years, how the goodness can you be in a position where your LinkedIn profile looks like this? It's both marketing and sales. So straight away, what's your feeling about credibility based on this person? So if you're like me, I'm saying they've got no credibility at all. Now, again, I'm just judging this based on this individual's profile. Think back to when I said earlier that 62% of people are going to look at your profile to support their decision-making process in buying your goods or services. If you come across this LinkedIn profile, you're going to be in trouble. And so I think as much as we're looking at the upside, we need to think about the downside as well, because this is a pretty poorly completed profile, so it needs a bit of work. But if yours is not as good as your competitors and 62% of people are looking at your profile and your competitor's profile, and your competitor's profile is better than you, then there's every chance that that's going to sway some of those customers towards them rather than you. Am I saying our pods are a waste of time? Pods can be mostly a waste of time. It depends what you're trying to get out of them. So let me just close that. So I'm assuming you're talking about engagement pods. And if that's the case, engagement pods have got their place, but I think you really need to be inside an engagement pod that works in your time zone, supports you at the right level. So there's lots and lots of, I think most of us have engagement pods that are not official, if you know what I mean. So, you know, if I post something on LinkedIn, then, you know, I've got people on this call, for example, that would go out and support my content by liking it. So, and I think there's a level of reciprocity that is given and a level of obligation that's taken. So if I post something and somebody likes my content, then I want to go and I feel like there's an obligation to go and like their content as well. So I think in that respect, a unofficial pod, you know, like a bit of an agreement that, you know, like I'll help you out a little bit and you help me out, is probably not a bad thing. The more official pods, I think, can really struggle with themselves, but I don't think they're proven to be useful. So I'm not sure that they're going to be a good play for most people. I hope that helps. So we've now figured out that we've got to build out our strategy. We know exactly who it is that we're going to talk to. We've now made our profile compelling to that particular person, not compelling to our mother, not compelling to our colleagues, not compelling to ourselves. And I know this is really hard, but compelling to our existing and potential clients, so that when they see it, they go, yep, that's somebody that I want to connect with. The other side of the coin is we need to figure out how we're going to build a really good quality network. And I'm all about the quality and not about any of the quantity. So going back to what I said in the first slide there, lots of people, LinkedIn trainers or influencers are saying, build a big network, post every day and money will come your way, that the orders will come in. I'm saying that's just absolutely not true. And I know that to be not true for myself. But if you do take an outbound strategy and you use some of those strategies in your approach, you will be significantly, you'll be able to drive business, absolutely. So I'm all in quality, not in quantity. How can I prove that? And what should you do to be able to do that? So I say network strength is absolutely key. So here I've got a screenshot. I'm using Sales Navigator in this instance, but a screenshot of my first connection. So I've only got 5,500 connections on LinkedIn. I've got a couple of thousand people that follow me, but 5,500 connections that I can control. Oh, okay. Next slide. If I place another filter over that and place the APAC filter, so I'm putting a geographical framework around that, I'm now reduced to 5,000. So I've got 5,000 people inside my geographical saleable location. So like I said, I'm pretty much just going to sell inside APAC and predominantly inside Australia. But inside APAC, I've got 5,000 of my connections are right there. So this is what I'm starting to build up about quality. And then if we go one step further and I add in that business function of business development and sales, what's that's telling me is that my network has 3.5, it's actually 3,800 connections in APAC who have selected either business development or sales as their primary function. So this means that about 70% of my total network that I've got control over, because I don't have control over the people that follow me, but 70% of the people in my network, that I choose to have in my network, are possible customers. So what I'd like you to do at the end of today's session is do this for yourself and see where you come up. When I've done this in the past, the numbers have varied from anywhere from 5% strength, so 95% of the people in their network were people they could not do business with, and it rarely gets much higher than about 60%. I've been doing this for a very long time, excuse me. So I've deliberately got a very strong network, and we want to have as strong network as possible because it impacts our ability to be able to engage those types of people more effectively on the platform. Let me explain. Okay, before I do explain, this is what it looks like if you don't have Sales Navigator. You need to go into a regular search function, select first connections, select your geographical location. So you can see here, I've got Australia and New Zealand. And then in the title piece, you create a Boolean search. And I think some of you will know what that is. And that's sales or business development or sales enablement or account executive or etc. And so you'll create, maybe those 10 key titles that you talk to, and then press search, and that'll give you your search functionality if you don't have Sales Navigator. And look, let me say this right now, Sales Navigator is a great tool. You really should be trying to get on top of it if you can. Okay, so what happens when you post something on LinkedIn? So when you post something on LinkedIn, it basically goes into this very simple little graph. It automatically figures out whether it's high quality or low quality content. If it's in any way low quality content, such as got a link leading it off to YouTube or to your website or something like that, it then goes to the right of the screen with the red, and it becomes triggered, and somebody has to check that. And what it does is it just displays that content to a very small amount of your network. If it is cleared and it follows the green line, it's then supplied to about 15% of your connections. Based on the interaction from those people, it then continues to show that content, this is LinkedIn, or it pushes it further into your list of connections. So if it's only sharing that content with 15% of your connections, and let's say you've got 1,000 connections and you've got a strength rating of, let's be generous and say 30%, so you've got about 300 connections that are your perfect customers, and you're posting work content. Okay, a total number of only 300 people might be interested in that content. Then LinkedIn's going to collect a random selection of 15% of those people. Very few of those people are actually going to be your target marketing seeing that content. And this is important because it makes it very difficult for you to get interaction on that work content if it's only showing it to a very small select few. So, we're talking about, 30 odd people in your target market are going to see that content in that scenario. And we need all of them to interact in order for that content to then go deeper inside your network. So you can see why when you post something that's not work related and you have a network that's built predominantly with people that aren't your current clients, it does so well. So if you post a photo of yourself out the front of a post office, or with an award, people who are not your work colleagues or people who are not your prospects go, oh, that's an easy way for me to interact. And guess what? That's why that content goes really well. But it's actually not working well for your clients. And here's the other side of that coin. If you're posting work content into a network that's not completely full of people who like that content, you run the risk that they press these buttons: hide this post, unfollow, or report. So if you've got 70% of your people don't like work content and they're trying to clean up their feed, you're being negatively reported to LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is going to hold the display of your content back even further. On the other side, if you're posting a whole bunch of work content into your network and not very many of them are interested, then you run the risk of your friends doing the same thing, and that's going to drive your engagement on your posts even deeper, lower. To explain this in some detail, there's the link. I'll share this with the slide so that you can have a really good look at that. But hopefully this is giving you a really good idea about why the quality of your network has to be so narrow and so deep inside your perfect prospects. And I know people change roles and I know people change jobs. And guess what? You could just rebuild your LinkedIn profile again, change the profile, get new connection requests. It's okay. Go and connect with another 500 people in your new role. It's cool. No one said you have to keep these connections forever, which brings me to my next point. You're probably going to need to go and delete a whole bunch of people to clean your network up if you want to be successful. And this is where most people are challenged, because they feel like deleting people is they are removing things of value. And people are valuable, but not if they're in the wrong platform. So if you're connected with a whole bunch of friends or family, just move across to a different platform, so Instagram or whatever the case may be, and leave this for the B2B space or the business space, so you can post work content and get good engagement just on that work content. Okay, we've got our strategy. We've built a fantastic profile that's very compelling. And we've built out a good quality network. How do we make sure that we keep filling more of our exact clients into that network so that we've got more people to talk to, more people to start conversations with? Okay, so you're going to need to be able to drive and connections coming in, and you're going to be able to need to drive connections going out. There is, under this situation, there is no situation that works where you just send a connection request without a personalized message, simply because you need to be noticed on the way in. The best time for you to start a conversation with somebody on LinkedIn is the first few days, the first day that you've connected with them. So at that point, people are thinking this could be a good relationship, or it could be just another one of those connections that I connect another name and another number and not move forward. So I can't think of a scenario where you wouldn't want to send a personalized connection request unless you're standing next to somebody in a business sense and you go, hey, do you want to connect? Let me just do that on my mobile phone right now. This is what you should not be doing. Don't send these, okay? These are clearly just templated. And I get what these people are trying to do. They're trying to provide, some relevance and saying we're connected to the same people. And they're saying, hey, there might be a business benefit, but these templates are too broad to be powerful. I'll show you what you should use, but it's not these. So when I'm talking about outbound, this is not what I'm talking about outbound. This stuff is spam. So you can see here, I thought it'd be good to connect because I think our software, like you're pitching me on software straight away and you don't even know what my problems are. I mean, come on, Nathan. And then as for this other one, I received this week. I have no idea what's going on here. I would love to connect. I share useful information about the world of breathing and productivity, performance and sleep. What's the relevance for me in that? I sleep pretty well. So I get these people are trying to have a crack, but you need to remember you've only got 5,000 connection requests in your lifetime. So if you use your LinkedIn connection requests as a spam email, you're going to run out of them really quickly. And when people click, I don't know, you're going to be marked down. So what should you use? These are some of the ones that I use. Well, actually the top ones, one that I received this week that I thought was pretty good. And you can see he's talking about the Sales Enablement Society, which I'm a member of. And so he's highlighting something that he knows I'm passionate about. And if you go and look at somebody's profile, it's really easy to do that. And some of you will be saying, Mark, how do I do that at scale? Well, my mindset is you don't need to be doing it at scale. You need 5 connections a day. You don't need 55 connections a day. If you get 5 of the right connections a day, 3 good conversations, or even 2 good conversations, it's probably better than what most people are getting with their 15 or 20 connections a day when they're just on a connect-a-thon. And this is one that I like to send out. Hi, David. I see we're both connected to a bunch of senior sellers in the FMCG space, including Stephen Rowe. How well do you know Steve? I thought I'd like to create a window for us to connect. So the reason why this works is a couple of things. Firstly, it's just an extension of that. We've got a few mutual connections, but I'm doing it significantly more specifically. So I'm saying, hey, this is the person that I know we're all both connected to, as well as some others. I'm saying we're both connected to a bunch of senior sellers. I'm creating the illusion that we're in the same bucket, and we would be. Mentioning their industry and mentioning an individual. It doesn't matter how well they know Steve or not. They just need to feel safe to be able to connect with me on LinkedIn. I thought I'd create a window for us to connect. And I say that because makes it very easy for them to then say yes or no, and they're not feeling like they're pressured into a situation. So these are the sorts of connection requests that you need to be sending out. It's not a big change from the ones that you saw earlier that don't work, but these work at 90+% of the time, particularly when looked at their people's profiles first. So how do I drive connection requests into me from my perfect target market? And I have this strategy called View for View, and it's probably the single most powerful strategy I've been able to use on LinkedIn, and it's helped me the most. What I do is I use that same ICP building ideal client process that I used earlier on. I search for my clients inside my geographical location with, all by those filters. But instead of filtering from the first connections, I filter via second connections. That brings me a list. I then go and look at 50 people's profile every day. And remember, these are my perfect target clients. What happens is I get about 20 people who will look back at my profile. And of course, I know that because I get a notification saying, hey, see who's viewed your profile. And out of that, I'll get about 5 to 8 people connecting with me, unscripted. So I've got 8 brand new, perfect potential clients inside my network that they opted into. And this is a great way to test how powerful and compelling your profile is. Because if you go and look at a bunch of profiles and you get connection requests, your profile is on point. If you go and view a bunch of profiles and getting no connection requests, you need to do more work, okay? It needs to be compelling, irresistible. Remember that? What happens with those 20 people that looked at my profile? It tells me that they're active on LinkedIn because they've got the notification that Mark's viewed their profile and they've gone, oh, that's interesting. Let's have a look at his profile back. So now I go, okay, these people are on LinkedIn. I can then go and have a look at their profile. They've looked at mine. It's a bit of a free marketing, bit of a free advertising sort of thing. They can read my profile. And then what happens with the people who haven't sent me a connection request but did look at my profile? I send them this message. Hey, I noticed we've crossed paths here recently. I'm always looking to share content and resources with senior sales guys or girls, depending on what it is. So I thought I'd create a window for us to connect. They've looked at my profile. I've looked at them. They know they've looked at my profile. They know that I've looked at them. I know they've looked at my profile. So we're doing this dance, right? And I've probably looked at their profile in order to send them this connection request. So in that process, we've built up a little bit of familiarity. We've built up a tiny little bit of an exchange. And if you understand psychology, you'll know that the more that you create exchange, the more people are going to feel familiar with you and they're going to feel safe. This connection request gets about 85% acceptance just when I've viewed their profile and they've looked back at my profile. And this is my theory on why this works so well. I see we've crossed paths here recently. So I'm just going, hey, I know that you've seen me. I know that I've seen. So consistency. I know that they're going to feel, okay, yeah, well, we should connect. We've looked at each other's profile. It feels like the next right thing to do. And I'm using that as the reason to reach out, okay? It creates its own reason. And half the time you just need a reason to be able to start a conversation. I'm always looking to share content. So it's like, I'm going to share something with people. So instead of just, can you join my network to join my network? It's like, if you join my network, you're going to get some stuff. Senior sales guys. It doesn't matter how senior these people are. I always say senior because it helps. It's a little bit of a compliment. And that is a persuasion strategy in itself. So you can see how this works really, really well. So I view 50 profiles every day and I end up with something like 10 to 15 connections new inside my network of my perfect target market. And I share this strategy with you so that you have confidence in deleting all of those people in your network who should not be there and won't be able to help you reach your business goals. Okay, I'm just going to pause here. I've got a bit of a chat, so we'll see what people are asking me. Are you viewing them through Navigator or LinkedIn? Regular LinkedIn. So just going regular LinkedIn. Samir, I only have 5,000 connections. I have 6,800, I think, connections and followers, and about 5,500 of those are first degree connections. So when I filtered, I went 5,000, etc. One more Q&A, and then I'll do the rest at the end. Okay, thank you. So engagement. Let me give you an idea of what the results are if you employ this strategy is going to end up being. So over the last fortnight, I've got 92 new connections. Okay, about 3/4 of those have reached out to me for a connection using that strategy that I just showed you. And about 1/4 of those, maybe a little bit more, have been me saying, hey, I saw we crossed paths, let's connect. Because once we've crossed paths, okay, I then get to have a second look and is this really somebody that's a perfect fit for me? If so, yes, I can. Because sometimes they're in that first group of 50, not everyone's really perfect fit. Even the LinkedIn filters can be a little bit off. Excuse me. Out of those 92 connections, this slide was done 2 days ago. I've now got 61 conversations started. So 2 out of 3 people I connect with, I start a very basic level of conversation with. Why is that important? And I want you to remember this. Conversations develop relationships. Relationships create opportunities, and opportunities become sales. It all starts with a conversation. So connecting and just leaving people there and just adding people to your network is not going to help you to solve your sales goals. You need to have a strategy to be able to go, bang, I need to start a conversation and provide some value. And I know that word's overused, but we can show you that. Getting into the last piece. So I know you're going to say, well, Mark, how can I engage people more effectively? And this is what we're going to cover in lots of detail. I'm going to share lots and lots of these next week. And I want you to go and do the work, do the homework. So do the work before do the work to do the work. So what sort of things would we do to engage people? So for example, you could post a poll on LinkedIn about your industry, and it could be something like, if you're in the car industry, it might be, I think 50% of cars will be electric by 2023. Do you agree or disagree? And then when you connect with people that are fleet managers or in that sort of space, you could say, hey, Gary, thanks for connecting. By the way, I've just started a poll on LinkedIn because you can run these polls for 2 weeks at a time. Would you mind ducking over there and voting one way or the other? And of course, you can tag them into the comments of that post. And this is a great strategy because not only is it likely to get them interacting with you in a really safe way and you're not asking them for a meeting, not yet, okay? But if you interact with new connections early, the LinkedIn feed provides you a priority into their feed for the first week. And so it allows you to build a powerful relationship in that first week. So it means you're much more likely to start a great conversation, but only if you interact. So the connection by itself is not enough. You need to do something else. So go and like their content, drag them into a post, swap a few bits and pieces, and then away you go. So there's a few things that you could do listed here. One of the other things I like to do is share an infographic. And this 7 Secrets to Social Selling infographic has, this is on about version 4 now. And I've shared this over 5,000 times. And I share this typically with most people that I connect with. But instead of just saying, hey, here's an infographic, I go something like this. Hey, thanks for connecting. Great to have another tech salesperson, another fin service person in the network. As a gift for connecting, here's my 7 secrets of social selling. This infographic has been super popular with a lot of my connections, and I'm sure you'll find it valuable too. So you can see how I'm lifting up the level of value of this infographic, and lots of people just go, yep, that's great, Mark. Thanks very much. Maybe we should chat. What else have you got? And it's just so easy when you've got a little strategy. This infographic cost me $34 to get made on Fiverr. And I guess in fairness, I should say that this is the 4th incarnation, so it's probably cost me 4 times by $34, but still, it's very, very inexpensive. We just need to figure out what it is that you can use to engage people more powerfully in that early stages of the connection. And again, I'm going to provide much more detail and many more strategies next week, but we needed to get these first pieces out of the way first. So, as we get towards the end, I really want you to be aware of what I call the vanity trap of focusing on how many likes you're generating and how many comments you're driving and how many connections you have. You need to be aware that these things are what's being driven by influencers who are trying to get you to sign up to their course and learn how to do videos so you can post a video every day. And there's some really good video people out there, and video is a great strategy, don't get me wrong. I think you know about the types of people I'm talking about. Microsoft is interested in you driving as many new people onto the platform and getting as many people onto the platform and staying on the platform as long as possible so they can sell more advertising. What they're interested in is not what's going to be beneficial for you. They're interested in using you as a product. So we need to make sure that you really focus on this and avoid that temptation to connect with everybody and to just be dragged into conversations that aren't going to work out for you. You are significantly better off posting something that drives 5 likes from your perfect clients and starting 2 conversations at the back, you know, through messaging or sharing content outside of LinkedIn as a result, than getting 150 likes on a piece of content that is you know, here's me holding an award, or, you know, here's me at, you know, out exercising at 5 o'clock in the morning. There's a time and place for that stuff, don't get me wrong, but if that's all you're bringing to the game, all you're going to do is get lots and lots of interaction for people who can never, ever be your customers. And at the end of the day, you're going to end up in a situation where you're going to say, LinkedIn's not for me. There's no way I can drive any business value out of it. So next week, we're going to run through in detail outreach strategies. We're going to pick it up where we've left off here. We're going to assume that you've done all those bits and pieces. I have just posted on LinkedIn. So go to my last post and you will see there is a registration link there for you to follow if you're not already registered for next week and you'd like to do so. Remember, this is brought to you by the Best of Social Selling podcast, which is my podcast. We release a podcast every Monday. And it's designed to help people be better at social. And we're interviewing a whole bunch of people, and we've got a whole bunch of discussion topics coming up there. So feel free to join us, excuse me, every Monday.